I say keep it shut down forever. The longer, this shutdown, we're only on day 2. But I'm going to be honest with you, it seems like everything's going our way. This is the best government shutdown I've ever experienced. I'm going to be honest with you. What's up? Thank you so much for joining me. This is Mark K. Saves the Republic. And of course, I don't do it alone. I do it with all the Patriots all over the globe every single day. And I am broadcasting again today from Patriot HQ in Mar-a-Lago. Beautiful Mar-a-Lago. And what we've got going on here, illustrious downtown Jacksonville. Shout out to Jacksonville. By the way, Governor DeSantis was here yesterday ripping on the mayor, which we'll get to in just a minute. But first, what J.D. Vance said yesterday, we were watching this live during the show. We were watching the press briefing live during yesterday's program, which was fun. But what he said during the show, I'm going to be honest with you, it turned me around on the government shutdown.
I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop. And I've talked to the President of the United States about that.
Yeah, that's another reason to keep the government shut down, because I don't want those sombrero memes to stop. I don't want the Hakeem Jeffries sombrero memes to stop. I don't want El Jefe to take off. In fact, you know what? I saw my good buddy Sean Farish post a meme. Sean Farish is the ultimate Trump impersonator.
Hola, mi fellow Americanos y bienvenidos al cierre de Schumer. That means welcome to the Schumer shutdown. We call it the Schumer siesta, right? It's the Schumer siesta. He put the government on siesta, crying Chuck. And El Hakimo Jefe Jeffries, we used to call him Dollar Store Obama, till we realized he's worth far less than $1. But they put the government on siesta to give illegal aliens your health care. We're not going to let it happen. I looked at both of them. I said, we're not going to let it happen. It's no bueno. I said, it's no bueno. They begged me. They said, but senor, por favor, please give illegal aliens the health care. I said, we're not going to do it. We're never going to do it. It's not going to happen. And they're also very upset about our big, beautiful sombreros. You look at them. These are the greatest sombreros the world has ever seen. We really have the best sombreros, and everybody wants one except Crying Chuck. And these are the greatest sombreros. Jefe Jeffries, they don't want one, but they're going to wear one when all is said and done. We're going to end the siesta. We're going to reopen the government, and we will not give in to the demands of Chuck and El Jefe. We're not going to do that. Thank you. God bless you. Dio lo bendiga, and God bless America. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah, who wants, I don't want those going anywhere. In fact, I was going to wear a sombrero today. I have a lot of hats. I wear a lot of hats. As you may know, I have lots of hats, not just the Mark K for Congress hats, which are very, very, very illustrious and highly sought after. But I've got a ton of other hats. I've got top hats. I've got bottom hats. I've got Trump hats. I've got all kinds of whatever hat you could want. And I used to have a sombrero. And back when I worked for the four-letter word radio station, the lunatic liberals and the Hollywood Democrats who ran the conservative radio station here in town. Back when I worked for them, I had a sombrero in the studio hanging on the wall. And I don't know what happened to it. I went in the garage. I tried to find it. I looked in all the bins because, again, I still have everything we had in the studio. We had, the Museum of Wokeness, the Cancel Culture Museum of Wokeness. We had all that stuff. The Trump train, it's still there, but it's in bins that have been labeled. My old producer's mother labeled them. My former producer, her mom came in one day and said, this place is a pigsty. So she drove to Target, true story, bought a whole bunch of those storage bins, cleaned up our entire office, and then labeled the bins, which was great because now whenever I need to find something, and I went into the hat bin and I saw all kinds of hats. I saw an American cowboy hat for the 4th of July. I saw Christmas hats like Santa with bells on them. Couldn't find the sombrero. So the sombrero somehow got lost in the shuffle. The sombrero, I don't know if it's still at the radio station, but if it is, I may have to sue. Anyway, but I ordered one, thank God, on Amazon. It's going to be here later today. So tomorrow for Cha-Ching Chat Friday, I will be dressed up as Hakeem Jeffries in my sombrero. I don't have a mustache. Oh shoot, I should have gotten a mustache. Hold on, you know what? I'll do that here. I'll do that here during the next clip. But this whole thing with Hakeem and Chuck Schumer shutting down the government because they're scared of AOC, this whole thing, it's backfiring on the Democrats. It's backfired. The Democrats thought, we're going to shut down the government. We're going to blame the Republicans. Donald Trump's the president. Mike Johnson's the Speaker of the House. That tall guy is the majority leader in the Senate. The Republicans run everything. So if we shut down the government and people don't get paid, then naturally the Republicans are going to be attacked. The Republicans are going to be held accountable by the American people. And in the 2026 midterms, the Republicans will be voted out. Oh, how the turntables, as Michael Scott would say, it is not working out that way at all, because the American people are not stupid. And Donald Trump does not allow the news media to put the messaging out there. Donald Trump is totally in control of every word that comes out of his mouth and putting it into the ears of the American people. He has his own social media network, for crying out loud. He has a press office that runs 24/7, even during a government shutdown, which, by the way, I have to show you that in a minute. For someone remind me later to show you the out of office reply or the automatic reply I got from the White House press office. It's very, very funny, but it's backfiring on them because Donald Trump sees this as, yes, it's horrible that the Democrats shut down the government. Yes, it's horrible that Chuck Schumer decided to shut down the government. But since the government shut down anyway, and since there's nothing the Republicans can do about it because the Democrats are the Democrats are the ones that are holding the reins on this. The Democrats are the ones that are refusing to vote to open up the government and fund the government for 7 weeks with no stipulations or attachments. No partisan politics whatsoever on the side of the Republicans. A clean CR, they call it. A clean CR, or as I like to call it, a CCR. I ain't no fortunate son. No, so they got a CCR that rolled right through, rolling on the river, right through the House of Representatives, rolled on into the Senate, and the Senate said, no, thank you. We want illegal immigrants to get health care. We want $1 trillion to pay for it. And that's where we are today. So anyway, it's backfiring on them because Donald Trump said, as long as this shutdown's happening, I got my buddy Russ vote. We got all these cuts we want to make. And now that we are fully in control of funding the government, we can make these cuts and we can make them permanent and we can cut things and people that the Democrats love. And that's exactly what they're going to do. And Ted Cruz was spitting fire about how stupid Chuck Schumer looks, how dumb the Democrats are, and how they're kicking themselves in the rear today because Donald Trump's like, oh, well, I guess with this government shutdown that the Democrats handed us, I'm going to have to fire a bunch of Democrats and cut a bunch of Democrat programs.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats force a shutdown, which they now have, that President Trump is going to use that as an opportunity not to tell people you're furloughed for a few days, but instead to send pink slips and to get rid of left-wing bureaucrats who are imposing left-wing priorities that are contrary to President Trump's priorities. I think that is fantastic, and what it's going to do is it's going to cause Democrats in Congress to scream and weep and gnash their teeth. I cannot wait for the next Democrat lunch when they start screaming at each other, when they start seeing pink slips go out at the EPA, at the Department of Labor, at the IRS, and suddenly the bureaucrats that they are entrusting to advance their job-killing agenda are themselves without a job. That's what's going to end this shutdown, as the Democrats are realizing that President Trump is making major advances for economic liberty as a result of the Democrats' temper tantrum.
I mean, that's a great way to put it. The Democrats are having a temper tantrum. They thought they were going to get their way. And Donald Trump says, all right, fine, you guys stay home. I'm going to go back to work and just start firing people, mostly Democrats. And I'm going to start cutting programs, mostly Democrat programs. And I'm going to cut those programs in blue states. And remember that Project 2025 thing that you guys kept saying existed that I said didn't exist? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring in Russ Vote, and we're going to go through that Project 2025 thing. Man, just when you thought Donald Trump couldn't troll the Democrats enough, Hakeem Jeffries has all got his panties in a wad because, got his pantalones, I guess, in a wad because of the sombrero memes. Well, now all the rest of the Democrats are all fired up because Donald Trump brought up Project 2025. I mean, this is master trolling. This is few people troll at this level. This is presidential level trolling. Donald Trump on his Truth social media network posted at 6:59 in the AM I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. President DJT. Now, I don't even know where to begin. There's so many trolls in this one post. There's so much trolling going on here. I don't even know. Like I said, I don't even know where to begin. The first thing he's saying is he's bringing up Project 2025, which as soon as you bring up Project 25, heads are going to explode. Hakeem Jeffries' head is going to explode right through his sombrero. It's going to look like, I don't know, it's going to look like some kind of fancy margarita drink that they light on fire at Senor Frogs or something. Like his head's just going to go poof. It's going to boom, explode right through his sombrero when he reads this Project 2025 thing, because Project 2025 was the thing that the Democrats thought Donald Trump was going to implement as soon as he became president, which Donald Trump repeatedly said doesn't exist. I didn't write it. I have no idea what you're talking about. And now that the government shut down, he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring in the architect of Project 2025 to just start doing whatever it is he wants to do with your federal government. And the Democrats are going to start losing their precious organizations and agencies and their cash cows, and their friends are going to lose their jobs. It reminds me of, I don't know if you remember A Fish Called Wanda. Back when in the 80s, there was a movie called A Fish Called Wanda, a great movie. I think Kevin Kline won an Oscar for it, but it was about this. I can't even tell you what it was about, but at the end of the day, Kevin Kline wanted information from Michael Palin, whatever his name is, the guy from Monty Python. And he had a bunch of fish that he loved in a fish tank. So Kevin Kline, in order to get information from him, scooped up one of his beloved fish from the fish tank and said, tell me what I want to know, or the fish gets it. And he put the fish in his mouth and swallowed it. And eventually he just went through the entire fish tank until there was just the one coveted fish called Wanda. Or a fish called Wanda, left. Hence spoiler alert, by the way. That's what the Democrats are going to experience. Donald Trump and Russ Vought are scooping up their favorite fish, and they're going to eat them alive. And there's no coming back. Once you're ingested, there's no regurgitation here. Russ Vought, by the end of the day, will cut some beloved program, some beloved thing that the Democrats have spent your hard-earned money on that is totally irrelevant. And the only thing it does is makes Democrats rich and gives them more power over you. He's going to cut that and they're going to freak out. And then he's going to cut something else and they're going to continue freaking out. And eventually they're going to have to give in because they don't want their fish called Wanda in Donald Trump and Russ Vaught's belly. They want their fish in the tank. It's going to be glorious to watch and so much fun to watch. And again, with this Truth Social post, it's the other thing he writes in here, which is cool, is at the end where he says the Democrats are not stupid people. So maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. Now he's saying there is a movement in the Democrat Party to do what I want to do. But since they can't say Donald Trump's right about everything, since they can't say Donald Trump's right, the government is too big. Donald Trump's right, we need to doge all these programs. Donald Trump's right, the IRS is unnecessary. They can't say that. So Donald Trump is now toying with the idea that maybe they shut down the government and gave him this unprecedented power so he could do what he wanted to do unabated, and the Democrats could just blame him for it and not act like they wanted it to be done in the first place. It's a fantastically troll-worthy post. If there's ever a college course on like internet trolling, that would be one for the textbooks. That would be one that I would really watch. But the fact of the matter is, look, the Democrats have shut it down, and the Democrats are the ones that have said there's no more funding for the next God knows how long. So do what you got to do. And Caroline Leavitt in the press briefing said, okay, that's what we're going to do. And she reiterated it this morning.
Fix this problem. And look, we have $0 coming into the federal government right now because the Democrats shut it down. So what Russ Vought is working diligently on is examining how we can fix this mess to ensure that critical funding continues, that we can get people paid. But the Democrats are making that very difficult. And that's why the president put out a statement this morning saying that we're going to start looking across the board at layoffs and at agencies policies that we feel do not best serve the American taxpayer that may need to be halted or permanently cut.
So on that, I wanted to ask you about that because he mentioned Russ Vought in that. I think that came out about 8 o'clock this morning about cutting certain programs that they deem are not necessary. Is that real or is that a negotiating tactic?
Oh, it's very real. And the Democrats should know that they put the White House and the president in this position. And if they don't want further harm on their constituents back home, then they need to reopen the government. It's very simple. Pass the clean continuing resolution, and all of this goes away. We would not be having these discussions here at the White House today if not for the Democrats voting to shut the government down. This is an unfortunate consequence, and the president and Russ Vought will be meeting on that later today.
Okay. Now, I don't know which government agencies have been shut down already, but I do know this. It's not whoever does Caroline Leavitt's hair, because it's on, look at that. It looks amazing. I mean, again, I'm no expert on hair, but clearly she doesn't have a government. No one in the government is paying for her hair because it looks phenomenal. But let me show you this. This is multiple trolling on multiple levels. Not only are they on the news, not only is Donald Trump on social media, but this is something else that has just totally annoyed the crap out of the Democrats. By the way, they're a bunch of Karens anyway. It doesn't take a lot to annoy the Democrats. Like, the Democrats are easily annoyed. When you have so many Karens in one party that can't even take a joke, they get furious. There were Democrats that were actually complaining about the White House press office auto response email. I kid you not. They said government funds, taxpayer dollars, are being spent to push right-wing propaganda directly from the White House. Listen to this. If you write to the White House press office, this is the autoresponder that you get. It says, due to staff shortages resulting from the Democrat shutdown, the typical 24/7 monitoring of this press inbox may experience delays. We ask for your patience as our staff work to field your requests in a timely manner. As you wait for a response, this is where it gets really good. Please remember, this could have been avoided if the Democrats voted for the clean continuing resolution to keep the government open. The press office also cannot accommodate waives, requests, or escorts at this time. Thank you for your attention to this matter, the White House press team. So the White House press office, which, by the way, this is genius. I used to do this too. When I would go on vacation, back when I worked in music radio, I was in DC. I worked for the top 40 radio station, and we would go on vacation. And the first 5 times I went on vacation, I never did an out of office email, right? I just left for vacation because I didn't care. And one day our general manager came to me and said, hey, whenever you go on vacation, you don't turn on your out of office email auto response. And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, people call the operator and they send emails to me and everywhere else. And it's just, can you just turn on an auto response? Because it causes havoc. Apparently I was getting a lot of emails, and when people didn't hear back from me, they freaked out and called the front desk. I don't know what the deal was. So I go, all right. And the next time I went on vacation, I set up an autoresponder for whenever someone emailed me, and I said, hi, it's Mark K from the Big 8 Morning Mess. Wait, where was it? No, it's Mark K from Hot 99.5's Morning Mess, or wherever the hell I worked. And I said, I'm on vacation. If you need something immediate, please contact so-and-so. And then, just like for fun, I wrote, if you'd like a pair of Justin Bieber tickets or a free t-shirt, please email our general manager at, and then I put his email address there. Well, apparently a lot of people wanted Justin Bieber tickets and free t-shirts because when I got back, we had another meeting. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the Democrats are all mad because they're saying the White House is using their email system to push propaganda about the Democrat shutdown. I go, well, that's what happens when you lose elections. Maybe try winning some elections and you can use the White House autoresponder to push propaganda, or truth in this case, about the government shutdown. I will say this though. They don't have the White House press office autoresponder to work with. They don't have that at the moment. They don't have unfettered access to the founder and architect of Project 2025 to go through and doge the government willy-nilly at his whim, without anyone stopping them. They don't have that power right now, the Democrats. But you know what they do have? They have Tampon Tim Walz. And Tampon Tim Walz is out there trying to get Americans to believe that this is something other than what it is.
The Trump administration will start firing workers instead of furloughing them, and do you think they might target workers in blue states?
I do. I think it goes back to this question, Tom, that it appears like they're trying to do that. The disruption is there. The willingness of the Speaker of the House to blatantly, I have seen Fox News even correct this issue, that trying to tell the public we're in a massive misinformation campaign. The President himself tweeting out AI videos of fake news reports on health care. This is really dangerous, and it's really hard. And I cannot express to you the concern and the absolute bafflement and fear of our European allies.
Did he say baffleness? Was that a word? Hold on. Let me go back.
This is really dangerous, and it's really hard. And I cannot express to you the concern and the absolute bafflement and fear.
Baffledness? What even language is it? Hang on, I gotta fact check. I'm live fact checking Tim Walz. Baffled. I guess he meant to say ness. Baffled. Bafflement. I thought it was bafflement. Bafflement. It's bafflement. Baffleness is not a word. You're in bafflement. You're not in baffleness. And you're definitely not in baffle-mess. I'm baffled by the mess the Democrats have gotten themselves into. Thank you very much. I digress.
Our European allies asking me, is this stuff really going on? So yeah, I have a feel that they do that.
Also, I'm sorry, I have to go back one more time. Our European allies are asking Tim Walz questions about what's going on. Our European allies are reaching out to the governor of Minnesota, failed vice presidential candidate Tampon Tim Walz. That's who they're. What European allies are reaching out to Tim Walz? If I had to guess, I'd guess Emmanuel Macron, because I feel like he and Tim Walz play for the same team, if you know what I mean. But I don't know. Does anyone even know in Europe who the heck Tampon Tim Walz is? I don't believe. You want to talk about propaganda. Anytime a Democrat who's not in a position of power, which I guess is all of them at the moment. Anytime a Democrat says our European allies are reaching out to me and they're concerned, I don't believe it, because I don't believe that our European allies reach out to the Democrats. And if they do, they're not our European allies now, are they? If they were really our European allies, they'd be reaching out to the President of the United States.
Express to you the concern and the absolute bafflement and fear of our European allies asking me, is this stuff really going on? So yeah, I have a feel that they do that. And again, they're going to tell you this, and like with the VA, and this is what really drives me crazy, they'll come back and tell you, oh, we're not firing anybody important. We're not going to fire doctors. No, just the people who change the linens or get the surgical instruments cleaned so they're ready to go. Those people aren't there. Or the IT, the people that allow you to schedule your appointment with the VA. There's a reason that all these people work together in agencies, and everybody's valuable in them. So yes, I do worry about that, Tom.
Oh yeah, so he said he's worried that at the VA hospital they're firing the lady that changes the bed sheets. Also, that's a whole other lie for a whole other day. I don't have time to go into all the baffledness that Tampon Tim Walz is feeling. But that's who the Democrats have. We have Donald Trump. We have J.D. Vance, one of the greatest we have Donald Trump, one of the most charismatic leaders, one of the most powerful social media influencers of all time. We have J.D. Vance, one of the most powerful and charismatic orators currently alive on the planet. We've got Jason Miller. We've got even Ted Cruz did a good job. And on top of that, we've got the White House press office auto reply. I mean, it's amazing how much stuff we have on the Republican Party to make sure that the truth gets out there. The Democrats have Tampon Tim. Oh, they also have Wes Moore, who is the governor of Maryland. And Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, which is where all the Marys live, it's also where my in-laws live too, so I can make fun of it. But in Maryland, Wes Moore is trying to describe what Donald Trump is doing, and I feel like he's trying to paint it as something bad. But the more I listen to it, I'm like, wow, that sounds amazing.
This is not some type of deviation; it's a continuation. Donald Trump has been shutting down the federal government in Maryland since he's been in office. Donald Trump has now fired over 15,000 federal workers in the state of Maryland. Donald Trump has denied grants and research dollars to our research institutions. Donald Trump has started put tariffs that started trade wars that has now risen the price on everything. Energy prices in the state of Maryland have jumped by 20% since Donald Trump has been the president of the United States. It's not that I don't think he knows how to end the federal government shutdown. I don't think he has an interest in ending the federal government shutdown.
Well, I guess the Democrats and he have that in common. There's so much with that, though. I mean, again, I was listening to it. Also, he said risen the prices. It's not risen, raise the price. I am in baffledness at how few people in the Democrat Party actually know how to speak the English language. The amount of baffledness I have in the amount of risen problems we have with the Democrat Party and their ability to speak clearly. It doesn't matter. But what he's saying is he's like, Donald Trump I want to play this to you again because, by the way, this is a lie of omission. It's true and false at the same time. The Democrats are good at that. Listen to this.
This is not some type of deviation. It's a continuation. Donald Trump has been shutting down the federal government in Maryland since he's been in office.
Okay, now that is true. It's not a deviation, it's a continuation. Donald Trump has been shutting down the federal government since he returned to office, but that's what he ran on. Remember Doge? Remember the chains? Elon Musk wielding the Doge chainsaw? That's what we all voted for. That's what 77 million or however many it was Americans voted for. That's why Kamala Harris didn't get any votes. She didn't win any counties. That's why Donald Trump had more popular vote than any Republican candidate this century. That's why Donald Trump had more of the youth vote, the black vote, the Latino vote, the suburban mom vote. Everybody wanted Donald Trump. Why? Because they didn't want big government. They wanted it to get doged. They wanted government efficiency. They wanted our tax dollars not to be wasted. They wanted the foundation or the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to go kaput. They wanted NPR and PBS to be defunded by the federal government. They did not want these propaganda outlets being paid for with their tax dollars. They didn't want abortions being paid for with their tax dollars or transgender surgeries for troops being paid for with their tax dollars. They didn't want the Peruvian transgender comic books or the weird Iraqi version of Sesame Street paid for by their tax dollars. So they voted for Donald Trump. Donald Trump got to office, and on day one, he went to the Verizon Center. I was there. He said he left the inaugural. He went right to the largest arena in Washington, D.C., sat down on stage in front of tens of thousands of screaming fans and signed executive orders on stage while people cheered. And then he threw the markers into the crowd and they lunged for them like they were, I don't know, Phil Collins' drumsticks. It's probably a bad example. Eddie Van Halen's drumsticks. I was trying to think of a cooler. I mean, Phil Collins is a cool drummer, but maybe you're not lunging for his drumsticks. But Eddie Van Halen, man, he tosses those sticks in the air and you're like, gimme. Who's the guy from Nirvana? Dave Grohl's drumsticks. I guess he's from Foo Fighters now and he doesn't drum. It doesn't matter. You get the whole idea. That was Donald Trump. He from day one started. Of course, he's cutting 15,000 jobs. But what Wes Moore said was 15,000 federal jobs in Maryland. Well, that's where federal jobs are because Washington, D.C. borders Maryland and Virginia. He's not cutting 15,000 federal jobs in Maryland. He's cutting 15,000 federal jobs, which happen to be in Maryland because Maryland is here and D.C. is right there. And the people that don't live in D.C. because they don't want to get murdered or carjacked, this was pre-Donald Trump, live in Maryland. I live there. I lived in Maryland for years. 6-7 years I lived in Maryland. 6-7. And I rolled on into the district whenever I had to, but that was it. So yes, you're cutting jobs, federal jobs. They happen to be in Maryland, but it's not like your state's getting targeted. Also, nothing he said seemed like a bad thing. Donald Trump, he's fine with keeping the government closed. Why? Because he and Russ Vogt get to 2025 this joint. They get to go in there and they get to hack away at whatever programs they deem inappropriate. And most of them are Democrat programs. And most of them are in New York. Which brings us back to Chuck Schumer. Because this isn't just the Democrat shutdown. It's the Schumer shutdown. And the Schumer shutdown is all because Chuck Schumer is weak and spineless and has no cojones grandes and J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States yesterday, and we were all watching it live, rolled right on into the press. This is another reason why I love J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance goes into the press briefing room at the White House, in front of the podium at the White House, in front of every reporter from the world over, live streaming to millions of people. And he says, Chuck Schumer, guy's got to sack up, man, because that guy's got no BALLSs.
So let me make one final point. I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as Caroline said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? And there are a lot of different spins that we can put on it, a lot of different answers that we could give, all of them true. One answer I already gave is that they want to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. That is true. They gave us legislative text that would have undone us cutting off health care benefits for illegal aliens. That's one of the things that they asked for. But the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified she's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge. So I'd invite Chuck Schumer to join the moderate Democrats and 52 Senate Republicans, do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix healthcare policy for the American people.
Yeah, there you go. Let's do that. Let's open up the government and then we'll fix the healthcare policy. But the fact of the matter is that the left-wing Democrats, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, the Squad, LaMonica McIver, all these people, they're the ones in charge. They're the ones in charge of the Democrat Party, and they're holding Chuck Schumer's life, political life, over his head. They may be holding his actual life over his head because, let's be honest, Democrats like to kill people too. But Chuck Schumer is facing a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's been in Congress for a while. She's already said, you know what, I should probably be senator. In fact, she said she wants to negotiate with senators. She told the senators, come on up to my office. Come on up to my office and I'll negotiate with you.
And I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's what's not going to happen. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free to enter my office and negotiate, because what we're not going to do is allow all of millions of people in this country to not be able to afford their insulin and their chemotherapy. So come strike a deal with me if that's what they really think is going on.
All right. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying, hey, you know what? Come and negotiate with me, Senate Republicans. Come and talk to me, Senate Republicans. My door is open, Senate Republicans. This is very interesting. Why is it that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez believes that she has the power to negotiate anything in the Senate? Number one, she's in the Congress. Number two, she's not technically the minority leader in the Congress. That is Hakeem Jeffries. Why is it that AOC, if AOC is not in charge of this party, if AOC is not the one that holds all the cards, if she's not pulling the puppet strings, why is it that she's inviting Republicans from the Senate, from across the chamber, to come over and negotiate with her? It's because she actually is in charge, and she knows she's one day going to be senator, and she thinks she's going to be majority leader. And she's not the only one that knows. I mean, everybody say, in fact, Nancy Mace released a video explaining to everybody, hey, by the way, AOC is in charge of the Democrat Party.
Everyone needs to know that the government is shutting down tonight because of a bartender from the Bronx. Chuck Schumer is so afraid of AOC primarying him for the U.S. Senate in New York. That's what this is all about. So he's catering to the far left of his party. The other thing is they'd rather fund healthcare for illegal aliens than pay our troops. Like, that's where we are tonight. Good luck with that in the midterms.
Yeah, so Nancy Mace is saying a bartender from the Bronx holds all the power in the Democrat Party, and Chuck Schumer is so scared of her that he is going to do whatever she says. And what she says is shut down the government because we need healthcare for illegal immigrants. Shut down the government because we need healthcare for pretty much everybody. And Chuck Schumer is in. I mean, and they know they're not allies in this. The Democrat Party is split into factions. There's the old versus the new. There's the far right, the far left rather, versus the moderates. There's the squad versus the really old people. I guess it's the really squad versus the I don't know what is old versus young. That's all I can say. And Chuck Schumer's look at this Fox News poll. Fox News did a poll. They went in and they showed everybody just how vulnerable Chuck Schumer is, just how bad it is for Chuck Schumer in New York, just how likely it is that Chuck Schumer will be primaried by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or at least just thrown out by somebody.
Are putting this on Chuck Schumer's back, all right? They've made it clear that he's their target, and they believe he's responsible for what's happening now. Get some perspective across the room now with Dana.
Yeah, but look at these numbers here. Look at the numbers. Chuck Schumer's favorability. It used to be, what does that say, 69%? Unfavorable is the yellow line. It's crisscrossed. He now has a higher unfavorable rating among Democrats and leaning Democrat voters than he does a favorable rating. Chuck Schumer is tanking. And when he tanks, it's tanks to AOC because she's the one that's pulling the strings. Now, Nancy Pelosi, who's also old as dirt, Chuck Schumer's old as dirt, but Nancy Pelosi, she's older than dirt. She's also still hobbling around Nancy Pelosi's so old. How old is she? Thank you. I'm glad you asked. She's so old that she wears orthopedic Skechers sneakers with her pantsuits, and she carries ski poles. Remember, she fell down the stairs in she was somewhere in Europe, Amsterdam or someplace, and she tumbled down the marble staircase and she had to go to the hospital. They did some kind of hip replacement surgery or whatever. And then she came back and she had to wear orthopedic shoes and use ski poles, not to go skiing, not because it's snowing in DC, just so she wouldn't fall over. That's how old Nancy Pelosi is. Well, they stopped her in the halls of Congress and they asked her about what AOC said. And guess who was not at all happy that AOC was trying to claim power over the Democrat Party? Nancy Pelosi, who still believes that she controls the Democrat Party.
It was a thought from the Republicans that AOC is directing this, and she said that senators are welcome to go to her office directly. Is she driving that?
Why are you saying such a ridiculous thing?
I'm just quoting what AOC said. She said go to her office directly. Do you think there's any credibility to that?
She's not directing this. She's wonderful. She's a real team player and the rest of that. You started by saying Republicans saying that she's directing this. She is not. Hakeem Jeffries is. And this takes a lot of experience, a lot of unity from the caucus in terms of the point of view. And that's what this is. She's an articulate spokesperson for her point of view, Hakeem Jeffries.
Hakeem Jeffries. Okay, so Nancy Pelosi wants everybody to know, look, it's not AOC. AOC is not saying that she's in charge. AOC is not saying come and talk to me or negotiate with me. That's the Republicans.
And I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe Nancy Pelosi didn't see that clip. Maybe her hearing aid was low. Maybe I'm misinterpreting AOC saying, you're free. My door is open. Come into my office and negotiate with me directly. Maybe I misinterpreted that as her not taking charge of this situation, but apparently Hakeem Jeffries is in charge of the situation, except, of course, when he goes on CNN. Hakeem the Dream Jeffries, Hakeem El Jefe Jeffries, he got his butt handed to him by Jake Tapper. Of all people, Jake Tapper on CNN, who covered for Joe Biden for years before stabbing him in the back with a pen and making millions of dollars off of an anti-Biden memoir. Jake Tapper sat down with Hakeem the Dream Jeffries and basically pointed out that he was lying to the entire country on live television.
Donald Trump blessed it as well.
So let me ask you about a provision that the Republicans are talking about quite a bit. I know you want to talk about, and Democrats want to talk about, extending the Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of 2025. But they talk about the provisions, and it's right here, subtitle E, and this has to do with the repeal of healthcare subtitle changes, and specifically what it is. How they characterize it is, you want to give health insurance to undocumented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
That's a lie, he said. Hawk Meme says that's a lie. Jake Tapper goes, look, I understand that it's not an accurate depiction. You don't necessarily want to give health insurance to illegal immigrants. And Hakeem goes, that's a lie. Listen.
Documented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
It's a lie, but what you support does bring back funding for emergency Medicaid to hospitals, some of which does pay for undocumented immigrants and people who don't have health insurance. And also there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants, it's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill knowing that they're going to seize right upon that and use that to message? I understand that.
So here's Jake Tapper saying, look, I know that it doesn't directly fund Medicare and Medicaid and healthcare for illegal immigrants. Hakeem Jeffries goes, that's a lie. And Jake Tapper goes, right, it's a lie, but also it's not really a lie, is it? It's not actually a lie. It's actually kind of true. Yes, you say as the leader, not AOC, because she's not directing this whole thing according to Nancy Pelosi, but as the leader of the Democrat Party, quote unquote, you, Hawk Meme, the Dream Jeffries, sombrero wearing, mustache having, Hawk Meme, the Dream Jeffries, you are sitting here telling me that that's a lie. But when I look at the actual documentation that Chuck Schumer brought to the White House and proposed, it appears that that's not actually a lie. And this is the best part. This is why CNN, the whole Democrat Party is just cracked. They're cracked in two. Split down the middle. You have AOC taking control of the left-wing lunatic faction of the younger generation. You've got Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer trying diligently to hold on to power and saying one thing on the other side of the aisle. You've got Jake Tapper saying, Hakeem Jeffries, I know you're not lying, but you're basically lying. And then hours later, you have Caitlin Collins on the same network trying to say, no, it's not a lie. It's actually against federal law, but luckily we have Scott Jennings to actually explain what goes on in the real world to people like Caitlin Collins.
Can I say one thing, which is that people who are in the country illegally cannot get these subsidies that we're talking about?
Sure they can. No, they can't.
No, they can't. It's against federal law, Scott.
It's against federal law. It's against federal law, Scott. Caitlin, because no one ever breaks the law. Yeah, wait a minute. I would just like to say that these illegal people, they can't get federal subsidies because it's against the law. Oh, that's so funny. You know what else is against the law? Coming into the country illegally. But they managed that okay, didn't they? You know what? It's so funny you say that illegal immigrants can't get government subsidies because it's against the law, but somehow they managed to skirt the law enough to get into the country in the first place to become illegal aliens. So don't you think that if they broke the laws at the border and the asylum laws and the immigration laws, they could somehow also break these laws that say they don't get the right to health care, they don't get the right to vote? No. They could only break the immigration laws. These other laws, though, they're unbreakable. It's not going to happen for them. And Scott Jennings is just like, who are you people?
Can I say one thing, which is that people who are in the country illegally cannot get these subsidies that we're talking about?
Sure they can. No, they can't.
No, they can't. It's federal law, Scott.
Who do you think pays when they go to the emergency room? It's the Medicaid emergency program.
Going to the emergency room is not getting an Obamacare subsidy.
You guys are conflating. You guys are conflating these issues. You're conflating these issues.
And you're being dishonest with
the subsidies are a separate issue. The Medicaid program cuts are a different thing.
Right, but I'm talking about subsidies.
And the Obamacare stuff are two different issues. And I said the subsidies may get negotiated over time, but what Democrats want to do is roll back what the Republican Medicaid reforms were. They want, look, I don't understand why everybody's so mad. For time immemorial, Democrats have argued that it's good. It's good for illegal immigrants to get Medicaid. Every candidate for president in 2020 raised their hand for it. In the big, beautiful bill debate, they argued it was good policy. I can't believe there's an about face in the Democratic Party on it today.
Hold on. I got a question for Karen, but Scott, I will say, people who are in the country illegally also can't get Medicaid.
Sure they can.
Federal law.
Sure they can.
They can't get Medicaid.
They also
Medicare,
can't register
CHIP,
to vote. They also
Obamacare
can't register to
subsidies.
vote, but we just found one in Maryland who was running the Des Moines school system.
Oh my God, one!
I mean,
Scott.
I'm telling you, you guys say these things can't happen,
I'm
and
just
then they
saying,
happen.
Scott, but I'm
Oh
just
my
saying
God,
it's federal
you're
law.
absurd.
And
You can
they're not
run
trying to
cover.
roll
You
back-
can run cover
they're not
for
trying
it if
to
you
roll
want,
back
but they
federal law.
do
No,
get federal
it's
tax
just the
money.
facts.
They get
Karen,
federal
can I ask
tax
you-
money. Ask Jake.
Yeah.
He had it on today.
I'm just saying it's against federal law to
Okay.
do
Yes,
that.
it is.
Good luck
Karen,
with it.
can I ask?
Good luck with it. Ask Jake.
Can I say one thing, which is that
he goes, wait a minute, go ask Jake. Scott Jennings is the only one watching CNN, apparently. Caitlin Collins doesn't know what the left hand at CNN, well, they're both left hands. The left hand at CNN doesn't know what the far left hand is doing. That's one of the many problems with their network. But he goes, look, these people, you're conflating the issues, which they are. They're trying to take the Medicare subsidies and the Medicaid subsidies, and they're trying to make them, the Medicaid, pardon me. They're trying to take the Medicaid subsidies and the Medicare, enhancements or entitlements, and they're trying to conflate them into one issue when they're separate. And Jake Tapper pointed that out very nicely to Hakeem Jeffries. And now Scott Jennings is just beside himself with Caitlin Collins and this other woman, and he's yelling and screaming at them that people break the law. And yes, you know what? They're not supposed to vote, but we found one in Maryland, and they laugh it off. Oh, you found one. Pfft. Just because one person doesn't breaks the law doesn't mean everyone else is. Oh, yeah? You think that out of the, what was it, 77, out of the almost 200 million Americans who voted in the last election, you think just one illegal person snuck through? I'm pretty sure it's way more than that. I'm pretty sure they know it's more than that. But he's right. You're running cover. In fact, the Democrats raised their hand during the debate. You remember that? The Joe Biden debate? Everyone was there. And they asked the question on NBC. In fact, I have that. It was, Jeanine Shaheen from New Hampshire. Senator Jeanine Shaheen from New Hampshire was asked about this by the guy from Fox News, and he played the clip for her, which the Democrats, I guess they forget that we record everything.
I haven't heard anybody in my party saying that illegal immigrants should get access to the health insurance marketplace.
I'm so glad you said that. Actually, I have some tape of your Democratic Party members saying this on the debate stage. So they've all said it. Let's play the clip.
Let's do it. Let's play it.
A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
1, 2, 3, 4. Literally everybody, every one of them holding up their hands.
Senator, that's literally every member of your party, from moderate to more progressive, that have said that in the past.
Yeah, look at that. They're saying it in the present, and they're going to say it in the future too. By the way, Joe Biden, to his credit, was the last one to raise his hand, and I think that Joe Biden literally just had no idea. He just saw everyone was raising their hands, and here's the thing: old Joe Biden would have been like, "Hey, healthcare for illegals? Are you guys freaking nuts?" But Joe Biden, who was running for office and wasn't, part of it, had already declined mentally, like you can't even believe. That Joe Biden just saw everyone raising their hands, and he's like, I'll raise my hand too. But look at this. Look at this. Everybody, you've got, God, there's so many of them. I even forget half of these people. But you've got Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg. You've got over here, is Kamala still there? Is she still in this one? You've got, yeah, there she is, right next to Joe, right next to Bernie. Joe gets his hand up there. You've got the guy, Yang Gang. Remember Yang Gang? Yang Gang is saying, yeah, let's do it. Let's give all these illegal immigrants, let's give them all health care, and we'll make the American taxpayers pay for it. And that's why they all lost the election. Well, except for Joe Biden. I mean, that's a whole other debate. You know what? We'll open up that can of worms. Another day. But it's not just that the Republicans are saying the Democrats want health care for illegal immigrants. It's that the Democrats are actually admitting it. Sometimes they're doing it accidentally, but we, again, record everything. The cameras are always rolling. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you proof that at least 2 Democrats knew exactly what they were doing, knew exactly what they wanted, and were dumb enough to say it out loud. First, though, I would like to remind you that not only has Donald Trump cut the size of the federal government. Not only has he and his advisors continued to make the federal government leaner and meaner, not only have they made the wait times at hospitals lower because of the illegal immigrants that they've deported, and let's not even forget what it does to traffic. Donald Trump has kept every promise, but he's also got the economy booming. And the economy is booming in a way that it's never boomed before, that not only your traditional IRA investments, like the stock market and your 401k, not only are those going up, but Bitcoin and crypto are through the roof. And better than all of those, the number one safe haven investment, which is available from my friends at Augusta Precious Metals, gold, is skyrocketing, up more than 25% since Donald Trump took office. And guess what? It's going even higher. And if you have $100,000 in an IRA, if you have $100,000 in a 401k, if you have $100,000 sitting under your mattress, go to getmarksgold.com, getmarksgold.com, and get your free gold guide from Augusta Precious Metals. And they'll show you the true safe haven investment, a precious metals, a gold IRA that is up 25% in the 6 months since Donald Trump took office. Getmarksgold.com. Fill out a little bit of information. They'll send you that free information about the gold IRA, and you can see how the new golden age is truly the new golden age, especially with gold from Augusta Precious Metals. Getmarksgold.com. There is a link in the description of this video if you'd much rather just click on that. I hear you. I'm all about making things easy. So the Democrats are saying, we don't want illegal immigrants to have health care. That's the word on the street. But sometimes when they're on the street, they forget their words are being recorded and they kind of just spill the beans. No one is better than that than Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters was approached by somebody from Mike Lindell TV. I think, Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy? He's got his own TV thing. We all do. Everybody does. Everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got a YouTube channel. It's fantastic. I love citizen journalism. And Mike Lindell sent somebody out to the Capitol building, and they approached Maxine Waters, and they asked Maxine Waters, hey, let me ask you a question. Is it true that you want to give illegal immigrants health care? And she inadvertently answered yes to that question.
Do Democrats want to prioritize the health care of illegal aliens over a government shutdown? Because if the government does shut down, American
Excuse
employees are going
me,
to be furloughed.
stop it right there. We're not prioritizing. What we're doing is saying simply we want to keep the government open and we want to work with the Republicans and have a bipartisan agreement.
We're not prioritizing.
Keep this government open, and health care is at the top of our agenda.
But aren't Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
Look at that. Everybody. Did you hear that? Did you hear what she said? Democrats are demanding health care for everybody. Are Democrats demanding health care for illegal immigrants? That was the question. The answer wasn't no. The answer wasn't absolutely not. The answer wasn't heck no. We won't go. We would never do that. That's crazy. That's lies. That's propaganda. The answer was we want health care for everybody.
Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
Look at those eyes, man. Everybody. Democrats are demanding health care for everybody. Now, again, I have to check with my thesaurus or my dictionary, but I think everybody means everybody. That means if you have a body, you're included in that. If you are a legal immigrant, she wants healthcare for you. If you're an American citizen, healthcare for you. If you're an illegal alien, thug, criminal gang member who brings in fentanyl and traffics young children and beats their wives so that they have to go to the police station to get restraining orders, healthcare for you as well. Paid for, not by you, but by the American taxpayer. Paid for, not by you. You get it for free. The citizens have to pay for it. That's how they got the illegal immigrants here in the first place. By offering free healthcare, by offering free education, by offering free cell phones, by offering free trips, by offering a get into the country free card and then putting them on a plane and flying them wherever they want to go, the Democrats inspired the 20 plus million illegal immigrants to come to this country over the last 4 years. Donald Trump, Tom Homan, ICE, they're now getting them back out of the country. They're sending them back home. And the Democrats are like, well, we want the subsidies back. We want them back on free healthcare. Why? They can't come back into the country anyway. We're going to still keep throwing them out. That would be my goal. I'd be like, you know what? Fine. Here's what we'll do. We will give you back your healthcare subsidies for illegal immigrants, But in return, you need to get rid of every sanctuary city. You need to allow ICE agents to roam freely in every Democrat state, city, municipality, and town. You need to give us your resources in Democrat-run states and Democrat-run cities to help hunt down and track and arrest and deport illegal immigrants. We will allow illegal immigrants to have health care in this country, but in return, we want every illegal immigrant out of this country. Solves both problems, doesn't it? It's just Sri Thanadar, who is one of my favorite Democrat lunatics. He's the guy from Michigan that brought up, remember he did a video, and I don't even know what happened. The Democrats got so mad at him because he went rogue. He went unplanned. He went off the reservation. He released this long video, like a 30-minute video about how he was going to impeach President Donald Trump. And he went through like six, seven. He went through like 6 or 7 reasons why Donald Trump should be impeached. And everyone made fun of it. And then the Democrats were like, God, no, with idiots like Sri Thanadar, how can we ever be taken seriously?
Returning back to Detroit this morning after the Republicans failed to show up in the U.S. House, we got to make sure Americans have the health care that they need. And if that means we got to shut this government down, so be it.
All right. So he's saying there too. He's saying, look, we got to make sure that we got free health care for everybody. And if we don't, we got to shut this government down. So be it. So be it. And he's like, I don't know what he's saying. He goes, I'm going back to Detroit after the Republicans didn't show up. Dude, the House passed this thing on September 19th. It's now October the dose. Okay. So September 19th, October the dose, that's like 21 days. That's like 3 weeks ago, this CR passed. The clean CR with nothing attached to it passed the House of Representatives. Boom, flew right through. Thomas Massie didn't vote for it. Victoria Spartz didn't vote for it. They got their reasons. It doesn't matter. We still had the majority in the House of Representatives. And that legislation then went to the Republican-controlled Senate, where it needed, to break the filibuster, 60 votes. And we have what, 50? Okay, do the math. 53 senators. We need 60, which would make you think we need 7 votes. But Rand Paul's a hard no, because Rand Paul doesn't vote for CRs ever, especially when they don't have any offsets. So you're down to 52, which means we need 8 Democrats to join in. We got 3. The chick from Nevada, the other one from the other, who was it? The chick from Nevada and the, who was the other one? I forget. And then Angus King from Maine, who's basically a Democrat. So now we're up to 55. So now we just need 5 more votes. And that's the plan. The Democrats, or the Republicans, they're not going to stop. They're going to let Donald Trump go in and doge the government as long as he wants to. They're not going to stop that. They're not going to count it. There's nothing to negotiate. In fact, that's what Mike Johnson said. Mike Johnson said, we have nothing to negotiate with. We said, here's our position. Keep the government open. Period. Full stop. No, what do you call it? No earmarks, no pork. Just, hey, the government the way the government's open right now, Fetterman was one of them. Thank you. The way the government's open right now, let's just keep it that way for seven more weeks while we do the appropriations bill. We're not attaching anything to it. And this, fun fact, one of the big reasons, by the way, this is something that people don't even bring up as much as maybe they should. The reason why Thomas Massie, Victoria Spartz, and Rand Paul are against it is because it continues the Joe Biden spending. It continues the reckless spending under Joe Biden because we haven't even appropriated all of that out yet. So they're like, look, what we're doing is we're continuing a spending package that should have already been done with. And that's why Rand Paul doesn't like it, because it doesn't account for the extra spending put in there by Joe Biden. That's why Thomas Massie and Victoria Spartz are against it. They're saying, let's just do our jobs and reappropriate and not take another 7 weeks to drag it on down, kick the can down the road. But at the end of the day, it's a basically clean CR. It's a CCR. Okay. Have you ever seen The Rain? That's another thing. I want to know. Curtis Lowe was the finest picker. Wait, was that CCR? I think it was. Anyway, so that's what's going on. So the Democrats now, I had a point to all of this. What was it? Oh, yeah. So now they need 5 votes. They need 5 Democrat votes, and the Republicans are locked down. We're good to go. We don't care if the government doesn't reopen. We know the troops are going to get paid eventually. We're going to do our best to make that happen sooner than later. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to go fire a bunch of Democrats. We're going to cancel some Democrat programs, and we're going to use that money to pay for stuff we like the military, like that physically fit military that we all learned about from Pete Hegseth the other day.
FAFO.
Yeah, that's the one. So anyway, so the Democrats now have to take a hard look at themselves. And J.D. Vance says, we know that we are going to be able to find these votes. There's already cracks. And Mike Johnson is telling everybody, you got to, you know what, pick up the phone and call your Democrat senators and tell them to stop this.
I'm pleading with the entire country to call your senators, your Democrat senators, the 44 people who want to shut the government down. You should call them right now and tell them to get here and get to work and open the country up for the people. So many of you asked me this morning about sombreros and memes and why Hakeem Jeffries is all alarmed by that. But look, these are games. These are sideshows. People are getting caught up in battles over social media memes. We've got to keep this is not a game. We've got to keep the government open for the people. I don't know why this is so complicated. And to my friend Hakeem, who I was asked about, man, just ignore it. I mean, Gavin Newsom was trolling me last night. He painted me like a minion. He painted me yellow with big glasses and overalls. And I thought it was hilarious. You don't respond to it.
By the way, Gavin Newsom is in hot water because he posted an anti-Semitic meme. He tried to meme like Donald Trump, but he couldn't do it. He posted an anti-Semitic meme of Stephen Miller, and now everyone hates Gavin Newsom even more than they did before. But Mike Johnson, he's got a decent point. He's like, look, call your Democrat senators and tell them to vote for this, because that's the only way that anything's going to change. Call your Democrat senators and say, you need to vote for this CCR or we're not going to vote for you next time around. Really, I mean, it's amazing. If Chuck Schumer, this guy is so screwed, like there's no way out of this where Chuck Schumer wins anything. Chuck Schumer, he could have stood up to the left wing of his party and said, look, I'm going to keep the government open. I'm going to get the votes. We're going to get the 60 votes. We're going to keep the government open and we'll fight for all the stuff that we need, but we're going to do it in the normal way. We're going to do it in the proper way. We're going to do it in the way that, the government is supposed to work. That's what Chuck Schumer should have done. Chuck Schumer didn't do that. He said, I'm scared. He said, I'm scared of losing my job to AOC, so I'm going to do what she wants me to do. And what she wants me to do is basically shut the government down until we get all of this illegal stuff for these illegal immigrants. Now, what's happening is the people of New York are suffering. Why? Because Donald Trump has cut $18 billion in New York area transit projects. The New York Times, which Chuck Schumer says is biased, says funds for two of the nation's largest infrastructure projects, the 2nd Avenue subway and Hudson River tunnels are being held up in apparent attempts to pressure Democrats amid a government shutdown. The Trump administration announced on Wednesday that it would withhold $18 billion in federal funds previously awarded to New York City for two of the largest infrastructure projects in the country. The two projects, the expansion of the 2nd Avenue subway line and the new commuter rail tunnels under the Hudson River, have been in the works for years and are aimed at alleviating bottlenecks, blah, 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 blah. Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, said in a statement that funds for the two projects would not be distributed while the transportation department reviewed what it described as New York State's discriminatory, unconstitutional contracting processes. The substantial funding freeze targets the two projects also appeared to intend to pressure Democrats to join Republicans in reopening the government. Why? Because New York City is in New York State, and New York State is represented by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. So if you are the Senate minority leader, and if you are the House minority leader, and if you are pushing a government shutdown for personal political gain, if you are refusing to pay hardworking men and women from the military who are laying their lives on the line and must show up for work even though they're not getting paid, if you're going to put people in harm's way by cutting funding to the FAA and to other organizations that require round-the-clock service, then you are going to pay the price. And the price is we're going to take money away from your state because you're the problem. You know who's not the problem? Rick Scott from Florida, Ashley Moody from Florida. Senators Scott and Moody voted to keep the government open, so they're not the problem. You know who else isn't the problem? Let's see, who else is in the problem? The other problem, I'm trying to pick another state that has there's a lot of them that have. Let's go with Utah. Mike Lee, for example. Utah is not an issue right now because Mike Lee and the other guy, I forget his name, he's the new guy. They both voted to keep the government open. Kentucky's going to be, well, no, Rand Paul voted no, but Mitch McConnell voted yes. the irony that Mitch McConnell is voting with Donald Trump, and half of Kentucky is going to be okay. They also have Thomas Massie, and Donald Trump doesn't like him much either. But the fact of the matter is that if you're in California, if you're in New York, if you're in Oregon, if you're in Hawaii, if you're in Georgia, which has 2 Democrat senators, and you're voting not to keep the government open, then Donald Trump is going to tell Russ Vought to take his Project 2025 pen and slice and dice some of the funding that was headed toward your state. And that's just the way it's going to be. And if you don't like it, vote to keep the government open. And if you would rather not do that, then you side with illegal immigrants over the hardworking men and women of your state, your constituents who put you into office in the first place. I do like Mike Johnson more and more, by the way. I'm still iffy on some of the things that he's done and said in the past, but I think he's kind of coming into his own. I was watching, what was it? It was him, because everyone keeps referencing him and George Snuffleupagus. Listen to this. This was him basically, again, handing it to George Snuffleupagus, schooling him. George Snuffleupagus was lying, because that's what he does. And Mike Johnson basically turned it around on him, and George Snuffleupagus was left basically speechless.
Here are facts. Here are the facts. The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants cannot buy health care under the Affordable Care Act. They cannot receive health care subsidies. No. Illegal immigrants are ineligible for Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Program. The Democratic bill does not make them eligible.
Okay, so
it does actually.
Yeah. So George Snuffleupagus, he's just lying. Because he thinks, and and I know people that watch ABC News. I have family members who watch ABC News. I tell them not to do it, but they do it. I don't know why. And I say, look, these people, they just lie. We know George Snuffleupagus lies every single time because A, he worked for the Clinton White House. He was the communications director or deputy communications director for the Clinton White House. And he was one of the people that said, you know what? Maybe let's say you didn't have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. Maybe that's the way to go. That seems like a lie. He's also the guy that said Donald Trump did something illegal with E. Jean Carroll at Bloomingdale's. And guess what? He had to fork out $15 million, $16 million all said and done with the legal fees. He and his network, $16 million they had to pay for the president of the United States because George Snuffleupagus lied to Americans on television. Why? Because he's a Democrat. He's he's a Democrat operative. He worked for Clinton. He spoke for Clinton. He's been lying for the Clintons forever. And now ABC News put him in charge of their news department so he could lie to Americans every single day. But Mike Johnson's like, dude, that's not true. Just because you say it, just because you read it off of whatever piece of paper you have there in the studio, doesn't make it true. It's a big fat lie.
I'm eligible.
It does, actually, because what it does is it unwinds the changes that Republicans put into the big, beautiful bill, the big signature legislation that we passed and signed into law on July 4th. That has been very successful in shoring up Medicaid for the people who are actually eligible to receive it. What we did in the bill, and the CBO just verified this 3 weeks ago, the Congressional Budget Office, the nonpartisan arbiters of everything up here, they said that those provisions have helped to reduce premiums. Why? Because we got ineligible recipients off of Medicaid, illegal aliens, and able-bodied young men who are riding the wagon who are not eligible to be there. Medicaid is intended for specific populations of U.S. citizens. That is young, pregnant women who are down on their luck, the disabled and the elderly. Those resources are being drained from those folks, and so we fixed that. We reduced fraud, waste, and abuse in the program. Chuck Schumer's counterproposal on the CR would reverse that. That is a simple fact.
The CBO did not say that about illegal immigrants. You've made your point right there.
Oh, look at that. You've made your point right there means I have nothing left to, I can't argue with you anymore. You made your point. Fine. Let's move on to something else. What else? What's my next piece of propaganda? I know I got something written. I know I got something good. We got the writers from the Jimmy Kimmel show. They're, oh, by the way, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are way back down where they were before. Jimmy Kimmel had one really popular show, and it was the show when he came back after the whole he got canceled for Trump, yada, yada. And now he's back in the toilet again. I'm shocked we haven't seen any. That's the one. The shutdown has kept Donald Trump from writing anything about Jimmy Kimmel's ratings collapsing again. But I'm sure that's coming. Look, this thing's going to end, I believe, soon. I'm with the vice president. I believe that this is going to end sooner than later. I believe that this is not going to last 13, 14 days. I don't believe it's going to go into 2 weeks. I could be wrong. I've been wrong once, maybe twice before. But I think that what's going to happen is the Democrats are going to realize Donald Trump's not lying. Donald Trump has never lied a day in his life. If he says he's going to shut something down, he shuts it down. If he says, I'm going to do this, and he does that. If he says, you know what we should look into? Donald Trump said, you know what? We should call it the Gulf of America. That sounds pretty good. Guess what? It's now the Gulf of America. Not just on my map, but on Google Maps. Donald Trump said, you know what? We should tariff everybody 150%. And boom, look, all of a sudden, 150% tariffs on everybody. Now we're making computer chips, and we're making cars, and we're making rice, and we're making all this stuff here in the United States of America that we never thought we would make in the United States of America ever again, because Donald Trump said we should do that. It's incredible what Donald Trump has been able to accomplish in a short period of time, and there's still 3.5 years left to go, and the Democrats just can't handle that. But they're crumbling. They know that Donald Trump's going to get his way. He'll keep the government shut for months and just keep smashing it down. The Department of Education, poof, gone. The IRS, poof, out of there. It's going to be, he won't stop. He will keep going and going and going until there's nothing left. The Democrats' fingerprints will be wiped clean of the federal government, which would be amazing, but would also remove a lot of their power, a lot of their backroom deals, a lot of their private funding, all that money they've already lost so much from USAID and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and NPR and PBS. They've already lost so much money. They can't stand to lose much more. They can't stand to do it, so they're going to crack. And all these calls are going to come in from people saying, I want my money. I don't know why you want to fund illegals. This is the Schumer shutdown. No one's calling it the Republican shutdown. Not one person, even the news play, even CNN yesterday. Do you remember CNN yesterday when Chuck Schumer tried to pretend he couldn't hear his camera?
Every Republican who's gone on TV the last 12 hours or so has called this the Schumer shutdown. What do you say about that name? Senator Schumer, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Senator Schumer, can you hear me? I don't think Senator Schumer can hear me right now. Maybe the government shutdown included audio on Capitol Hill.
I still love that joke. That's the kind of joke I would make if I were in his place, but I would never be in his place because I would never work for something like CNN. But anyway, that's the whole thing. It's the Schumer shutdown. It's the Democrat shutdown. People are calling every single day saying, get your butts back into Washington and vote to open this government. They're going to get the 5 votes. And we know that because J.D. Vance, again, one of the greatest orators we have on this planet, he was on, I think it was Ben Shapiro, and he said, look, there's already cracks.
You already see, I think, the Democrats cracking a little bit because they realize it's such a preposterous position to say, we're going to shut down TSA, we're going to not pay our troops because you guys won't give us benefits for illegal aliens. It's crazy, and I don't think it's a tenable political situation for them to be in.
They're cracking. They're Democrats. That's what they are. They're Democrats and they're cracking, and they can't come together on this. They can't sustain it because you have an election coming up in 2026, and there are so many Democrats that are up for grabs. Not just John Fetterman. Here we go. 2026 United States elections. Let's see who's up for grabs in the 2026 election. Let's see what we have here. I want to go to there's so many elections. I want to go to the Senate elections, and I'm going to pull that up. Hang on. U.S. Senate elections 2026. We're going to get the comprehensive list. Here we go. United States Senate elections for 2026. Who's up for grabs? Here we go. In Alabama, Tommy Tuberville. I feel, he's retiring, by the way. Dick Durbin, retiring in Illinois. That means if there's, let's see, as of October 2025, 8 senators, 4 Democrats, and 4 Republicans have announced that they will not seek re-election in 2026. Tommy Tuberville in Alabama. I'm not worried about Alabama. Alabama, I don't know if you've heard this, but they're the Crimson Tide. They're never going to vote for anything that's not red. Dick Durbin in Illinois. Again, that's probably a safe blue district, but again, getting Dick Durbin out of the Senate is always a plus. Joni Ernst in Iowa. Now, the Democrats are going to make a play for Iowa. They're going to spend a lot of money in Iowa, and then they're going to lose Iowa. So I'm okay with Democrats spending a lot of money on something that's never going to come to fruition. Mitch McConnell in Kentucky. We already have a pretty good idea who's going to take that seat, and it's going to be somebody who's not a big rhino like Mitch McConnell. Michigan, Gary Peters. There's talk that seat could be up for grabs. Minnesota, Tina Smith. Minnesota is about as purple a state as you can get, even though they have Tampon Tim Walz as their governor. And I would argue that having Tampon Tim Walz as your governor may actually push a lot of people toward the right. Tina Smith in Minnesota. Janine Shaheen in New Hampshire. Keep your eyes on New Hampshire. I always say this. New Hampshire, I'm not just saying this because my son's there. I go to New Hampshire now a lot more than I've ever been. And I see the people in New Hampshire. I talk to the people in New Hampshire. I understand what's going on in New Hampshire. And New Hampshire is a very conservative state. They're almost libertarian. But you've got that handful, that pocket of Democrats that tries to take control, but they're fighting back. Lily Tang Williams, I think, is going to have a decisive victory in New Hampshire in their 2nd congressional district coming up. Don't forget, Caroline Leavitt is from New Hampshire. She ran for the 1st congressional district back when she was like 24, 23. She lost that seat, but thank God she did, because now she's one of the best press secretaries we've ever had. Janine Shaheen is out, and if they can find the right person, they can't get the governor to run. That's a bummer because he'd win. But if they can find the right person, if they can find the right Republican, they may have a shot. The problem there is they can't find the right Republican. And Tom Tillis in North Carolina is a horrible Republican. We're going to get somebody better. But look, they're all over the place. John Ossoff in Georgia is vulnerable. Why? Because he sucks. He sucks. He's a horrible senator. And here's the thing. The reason that John Ossoff is the senator is because what's his name? That old guy that was president for a while, Joe Biden, was on the ticket. Well, Joe Biden's not on the ticket anymore. So with no presidential election, John Ossoff has to drive enough voters to the polls just to vote for him. Ain't nobody going to the polls to vote for John Ossoff because he sucks. Where else do we have? Ed Markey in Massachusetts. He's probably fine. New Hampshire, New Jersey, Cory Booker's up. Okay, they're calling it a solid D. Probably that's true. But man, if there was ever a time to make a move in New Jersey between the governor's race and the Senate race, if enough people can go out in New Jersey to support the Republican candidate for governor, then you may have a shot at stealing a Senate seat too. Probably a tough call, but stranger things have happened. Mark Warner in Virginia. I don't like that guy. People in Virginia don't like that guy. They've been voting for Republicans. Plus, you have a governor's race again in Virginia, and you've got Winsome Sears, a very popular candidate who a lot of Republicans and a lot of African Americans are going to go out and support. And if Republicans are driven out to the polls to vote for Winsome Sears in Virginia, then they're not going to throw a Democrat like Mark Warner back into that seat. And I believe that Virginia could also be vulnerable. So there are chances to pick up. But the fact of the matter is, you've got people there who are running. All of these people are running, and they don't want to have to go back and explain why they let AOC talk them into shutting down the government so that they could win their election. They don't want to have to go back to a town hall and talk to their constituents and try to explain, I was going to vote to keep the government open, but AOC, who's not even in the Senate, AOC, who doesn't even hold a leadership position, AOC threatened to primary Chuck Schumer, so I decided we should shut down the government to pay for health care for illegal immigrants. They're just unhinged. Mike Johnson, and this is another reason why I'm kind of liking Mike Johnson. I'm not a Mike Johnson fan. Don't come at me, Mike Johnson haters, because look, I'm not saying I'm a Mike Johnson fan. I still think there's like 6 or 7 other, 6, 7. That one I did on purpose. There's like 6 or 7 other Congress people that I think would be better at the role of Speaker of the House of Representatives. But Mike Johnson, I just saw, there's another thing that happened. Madeline Dean, a representative from somewhere, is it Oregon? I forget where she's from. Madeline Dean caught him in the hallway, and she was on a hot mic, or maybe she knew she was on a mic, whatever. She was trying to make a moment for herself. And she was trying to get this. This is how you know the Democrats have lost, because they're going back to removing Donald Trump from office. Their agenda has failed. The Democrats have failed. They've shut the government down. They're getting blamed for it. They can't get their illegal immigrant health care back. They can't do anything that they're promising their constituents. They don't have control of any branch of government. So what do? They resort back to trying to have Donald Trump removed. And since they tried to impeach him twice and they failed, now they're trying to use the 25th Amendment. And Madeleine Dean caught Mike Johnson in the hallways of Congress and tried to convince him that Donald Trump was unhinged. And listen to what Mike Johnson told her.
The president is unhinged. He is unwell. What are you doing? A lot of folks on your side are too. I don't control. Oh my God.
I mean, come on. I got to hand it to. I didn't know Mike Johnson had that in him. I didn't know Mike Johnson had that sarcastic, biting, quick wit. She comes out and says, the president is unhinged. He's not well. And Mike Johnson goes, yeah, well, a lot of people on your side are too.
The president is unhinged. He is unwell. What are you doing? A lot of folks on your side are too. I mean, come on,
Mike Johnson's just like, dude, any Democrat. I mean, this is the party of Jasmine Crockett, who stands up on stage and calls a man in a wheelchair Governor Hot Wheels. This is the party of Jasmine Crockett, who says all she wants for her birthday is for someone to take down Elon Musk. This is Jasmine Crockett, who says punch Ted Cruz in the face. This is the party of LaMonica McIver, who shows up unannounced at an ICE facility and throws her body slams armed ICE agents so that she can burst through the gate and try to, rescue illegal immigrants. This is the party of Al Green, who stands up at the State of the Union address or the joint session of Congress and waves his cane while threatening the President of the United States during his State of the Union address, which he was invited to give by Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. This is the party of Chris Van Hollen, who used your taxpayer money to fly down to El Salvador to have margaritas with a criminal thug, Tren de Aragua or MS-13 or whatever he was, gang member who twice beat his wife to the point where she went to the police and demanded protection in the form of a restraining order. He flies down there, has margaritas with him, brings him back to Maryland, calls him a Maryland dad, and then guess what? Now he's going to Syria or someplace. These people are deranged. They're unhinged. These are the people that shoot at Donald Trump from the top of buildings, that hide out for hours in golf courses to try to take a crack at the president. These are the people who, because they're in love with transgender dudes, crawl up on rooftops in Utah and put bullets in Charlie Kirk's neck. This is the party that will throw bricks at people, that will punch people, that will smash windows, that will loot, that will riot, that will set police cars on fire. These are the people that are being represented by the folks on the left. And she has the audacity, she has the nerve, she has the cojones to walk up to the Speaker of the House and say, the president is not well, the president is unhinged. I mean, has she not watched the news? Does she not go on X? Does she not understand what's happening with her own party? It's really kind of wild. What's been going on. There are a couple other things here, but I think we've covered. It's basically more of the same. So I'll just leave you with this. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks so much for subscribing. If you're new to the show, if you haven't subscribed, super easy to do. There's a button somewhere, whether you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, wherever you are, just hit the subscribe button and we'll keep bringing you this content. If you hit the notification bell, ding. Wait, that's not it. There you go. Then you're going to get notified every time we go live, and that'll be easy. You don't have to remember when we go live. It'll just, boom, there it is. You get notified. You get a little notification on your phone. Oh, Mark K's live. I got to go watch Mark K Saves the Republic. Also, we're going to do a little bit of an after party today. It's Thursday. I know I went really long, but I'm going to go even longer. I got more stuff to say. And if you're not a member of the K-Treat Club, if you'd like to be part of the after party, if you'd like to enjoy like another 30 minutes of me ranting and raving and answering your questions directly, you can type in a question. I'll answer it. We do that here in just a minute. Go to Katriots.com and join the K-Treat Club. It's $10 a month. It's barely anything. It's even less if you subscribe for the entire year, and we would love to have you because it's a party type atmosphere several times a week. There's other great benefits and other great rewards, and there's discounts on this, that, and the other. It's really fantastic. And that kicks off, like I said, in about 5 minutes. So you have about 5 minutes to go to Katriots.com and join the after party. Guess what? There's also a link conveniently located in the description of this video. So you can just go to the description of this video, click on that link, and it'll take you right there. In the meantime, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for subscribing. Thank you for your support. We'll be back tomorrow with more Mark K Saves the Republic, with more information for you to arm yourself with more entertainment that's going to make you LOL and ROFLOL or whatever. You're going to enjoy it. There's going to be more inspiration to keep you fired up about the future, and enlightenment so that you have a clear look at exactly what this country is, what this country should be, who's attacking it, who's trying to thwart it, who's trying to turn it into something it never should be at all, who's trying to take advantage of you. And you'll also know exactly how and when and where to fight, so we can save the Republic.